INEC focuses on delivering free and credible elections in 2023. Continuous voters exercise resumes as stakeholders seek more polling units. The local government as the closest tier of governance to the people. Its effectiveness or otherwise, its travails and the albatross of the state government. Also on political update today, tackling the recurring issue of insecurity and its toll on the economy. I am Fisayo Ogunfuyi. Welcome. The 2023 general elections will be different from previous elections in terms of preparations. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu made his Commission's intention known in a meeting with resident electoral commissioners to finalize preparations for the resumption of the continuous voters registration exercise and expanding polling units.
Shuttling to settle a protracted electoral challenge, pushing for more polling units. Dialogue is more interesting than monologue, so stakeholders' meetings were held on the subject. Now, the INEC chair sits with his lieutenants, the state resident electoral commissioners, to finalize this discussion and also to resume the continuous voters registration exercise.
Those who wish to replace their lost or damaged PVCs, as well as those who are already registered, but who may wish to apply for transfer of their registration from one location to another, will be able to do so as provided by law.
Submit inventory of all election materials. No excuses in 2023, because the election is not just about the direction of the country, but also the identity.
The 2023 general election must be different from all previous elections in terms of our preparations and readiness.
Journalists are not part of the working session, so we off our pens. Mie Ogidi, NTA News.
Mie Ogidi for that one. And talking about the lieutenants, joining us is INEC Commissioner for Information and Voter Education, Mr. Festus Okoye. Thank you for joining us on Political Update today.
Thank you so much.
All right, tell us how ready is INEC for the resumption of the continuous voter registration exercise?
Well, we are getting ready, but we are taking first things first. What we intend to do at the moment is to expand access to the polling units, especially for existing registered voters, and then thereafter resume the continuous voters registration exercise. So as at now, we are engaged in stakeholder consultations, trying to build a nationwide consensus on expanding voter access to polling units. And what we intend to do is to convert the existing voting points and voting point settlements into stand-alone polling units, and then moving some of them to underserved areas or areas that are not served at all. So that's exactly what we are doing. The moment we are through with this, we will now resume the continuous voters registration exercise.
Maybe you might need to enlighten me a bit. Would it go through some little modifications in terms of delineation, the distribution of the polling units, or is the existing structure just maybe a little bit of perhaps reducing congestion in some polling units and then creating others, especially where there is a lot of, volume of human in terms of numbers?
Yes, what we are doing now, for instance, if you live in the Federal Capital Territory and the parts of Nasarawa State, in the whole of Karu area, we have just 4 polling units. And then because of congestion, because of the sheer number of people that live in this particular area, these 4 polling units have 80 voting points. But the challenge is that the 80 voting points are in the same vicinity, in the same premises with the polling units, because the voting points are not independent. So at the end of the day, you carry the votes from each voting point to the mother polling unit. And this has created a lot of challenges. So what we intend to do is that in the 4 polling units, for instance, where we have these 80 voting points, we want to determine where the people who come to vote in these voting points and polling units are. And then we carry some of the voting points and take to the people so that they don't have to trek 10 kilometers to the border polling unit in order to come and cast their vote. So the voting points now will become stand-alone polling units. And then we also in the Guarimpa area and the Apo area, where we created what we call a voting point settlements because they are not served at all. We will convert those voting point settlements into stand-alone polling units, and so that the people will have a pleasant voting experience. And then by so doing, we will avoid overcrowding our polling units. We will avoid the electoral malpractices that attend some of these challenges. Then we can organize professionally and ethically and in the best regional and international standards in terms of organization of polling units. But for instance, in this Karu area I talked about, there are 2 polling units that have a total registered voter population of 25,000, and there is no way a presiding officer can serve 25,000 persons in a day. So on election day, what we have is complete chaos. What we have is complete confusion, and we're trying to make sure that we lower those confusion, so that when we resume the continuous voters registration exercise, people will be offered new polling units, so that they can register in the place that is nearer to them, or in the place that they feel more comfortable with, rather than moving up and down on the election day when there's restriction of movement and people have to jog for 10 kilometers in order to go and cast their votes.
Apart from issues of getting fitness due to this jogging, but let's look at some aspects of it. You spoke about, maybe it was earlier in the year, we're talking about talking to stakeholders, considering, when you were considering this expansion, what was the, response like from stakeholders in terms of, looking at these new things that INEC is doing, and then putting on board also, what we have seen in the past few elections in terms of, the migration gradually into electronic voting?
Well, the reception has been really wonderful. As at present, we have consulted with political parties, and they endorsed the conversion of voting points and voting point settlements unconditionally. We have consulted with civil society groups and organizations. We have consulted with the media. We have consulted with the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. We have consulted with the National Economic Council, chaired by the Vice President and made up of all the state governors. We have consulted with the Federal Executive Council. We have consulted with some sociocultural groups and organizations. We are going to consult with professional bodies. In all these consultations, the reception has been wonderful because people experience firsthand the challenge of overcrowding. People experience firsthand the challenge of voter apathy that has a correlation with this issue of overcrowded polling units. So the reception has been wonderful. And what we intend to do is that the moment we finish with this, we do continuous voters registration exercise, so that 1, persons who have attained the age of 18 who have not registered will register. 2, persons who have either had any challenge of verification or authentication will offer themselves once again for purposes of being captured. 3, persons will now have a discretion to choose in which polling unit they want to be. So those who want to remain in their mother polling units, we have an option of remaining there, while those who want to migrate to some other places, we have an opportunity of migrating. So we are engaged in creative and innovative approaches to this challenge.
Thank you very much. We've been on to the Commissioner of Information and Voter Education, and we've been educated on that. Mr. Feso Tokoye, always a delight having you on the program. Many thanks. Moving on now, the new Nigeria People's Party has called on the National Assembly to scrap states' independent electoral commissions in the ongoing Constitutional and Electoral Act amendments.
This media briefing by the NNPP is coming on the heels of the numerous elections conducted so far by various state governments into their council areas. The party believes that INEC should conduct all local government elections in the country, with the latest held in Delta State last weekend. It also enjoins the Commission to adopt electronic voting system to further guarantee the sanctity of the ballot box and the electoral process.
If you look at the enabling law behind the creation of CX, they are put directly under the control of the state government. That's what the Constitution says. So what we are saying is that our democracy can only be sustained if the CX are scrapped and INEC at the center takes up the responsibility of conducting local government elections. Because for me, as the leader of my party, there's no reason why I won't be able to deliver my word.
NNPP urges lovers of sustainable democracy in Nigeria to prevail on state governments to always declare election results in a manner that truly reflects the people's will.
All right, the 2023 elections just 2 years away, but the umpires, of course, is getting ready. Honorable Reverend Francis Waive, representing Ughelli North South and Udu Federal Constituency, now joins us. And you, thank you very much for joining us. You heard the INEC Commissioner on Information and Voter Education there. Looking at your own constituency, how big is it? Do you also expect that this expansion would also reach your constituency in terms of the needs and cluster? Or can we call, the deluge of people who come out during, elections?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure. And it was nice listening to the INEC Commissioner. In my constituency, Ughelli North, Ughelli South, and Udu Federal Constituency of Delta State, this is a serious problem. We have one of the largest constituencies in the country. A federal constituency is mine. And some of our local governments are the largest. And it boils on down to the voting points. If you take Ward 37, Ward 26 in Ughelli Metropolis, you have some voting units that have 2,000 persons and more in one unit. Usually on election day in 2019, what they did was to have voting points for one polling unit. And at the end of the day, you now have to merge everything. And that's a lot on the polling staff for that. And that also happens in Ewu Ward 1 in Ughelli South, in Orunwuru Ward, DSC area of Udu local government. These problems are all there, where you have 2,000, 3,000 persons, whereas it should be 500 per voting unit. So if they could make this happen, this change, it will definitely benefit us. And going forward, we are looking forward to even an increase in the number of our state constituencies. We are talking about 3 local governments now, millions of people making one federal constituency. We could make up to 2 or 3. And then for state constituencies, the same problem. In Ughelli South, for instance, there's a constituency that we call suppressed because it was there in the previous republic, and now we don't have it anymore. Those are the challenges we are facing, and we are trusting that between now and 2023, the Independent Electoral Commission, National Electoral Commission, will do justice to this.
I won't talk too much about some of those riverine constituencies because of this allegation. Of course, it's not true that fishes vote. It's not true. But
well, you have already concluded.
I say it's not true.
You know it's not true.
Moving on, we need to look at, you even in your party, you did, some registration exercise and all that. How did that go?
Well, it's presently ongoing. The All Progressives Congress membership revalidation and registration is currently going on. We had a small hiccup in Delta, and the exercise was suspended for about a week. But it's going on now, and I'm glad Deltans are embracing it very fast. In my constituency, there are quite a number of units that have exhausted the 100 that was provided for in the first place. So we're expecting more booklets for the registration. I'm glad our people are embracing the APC and looking forward to 2023. It's very exciting, and we hope more materials for registration will come. We already overcome that challenge of that hiccup in the beginning that we had in Delta.
How was that resolved?
Well, it was resolved in such a way that we now managed it at the micro level. At each local government, stakeholders met and they managed the process, how the registration booklets go to the units, and funding the exercise, those who carry it out and provide stationaries and logistics and all that. And I think it has worked very well. In every local government, stakeholders are owning the process. And perhaps that is what has helped also in getting this huge registration that we're experiencing.
All right, this is 2021. We saw some of the, we both discussed, and we looked at some of the challenges last year, especially because of, the interruptions in terms of the COVID outbreak and all that. As life returned to normal, are the youth back? Are the fishermen back? and all the sources of livelihood? Are those areas open back for business, and is it thriving? Are they thriving now?
No, the effects of COVID-19 will remain with us for a while, and people have lost loved ones, and economic system has been disrupted. It will take time for people to come back, life to come back to normal. So the challenges are still there. People are poorer than they were, but we want to appreciate what government has done, providing the COVID-19 facilities. This has helped in some areas. Talking about fishermen and farmers, gradually, we keep pushing these COVID-19 protocols, no non-crowding, use of face masks, social distancing, and all of that. So all that comes down again to economic activity. So it will take time for it to pick up. Though there are a couple of persons who have never believed, but the loss of life is so general that even those outside the reported net, people know that this is a COVID-19 death, and people have been taking personal responsibility, and that's happening all over the place.
Let's take a few stories from the issues now. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed his happiness over the just concluded elections in Niger Republic. The president said this while speaking with former Vice President Amadi Sambo, who monitored the exercise.
The former Vice President of Nigeria, Muhammad Namadi Sambo, led the ECOWAS mission on election in the Republic of Niger. He is here to present the report on the elections to President Muhammadu Buhari. The president said with Nigeria sharing more than 1,400 kilometers of border with the Republic of Niger, it should be concerned about the stability of the neighboring country. He expressed delight that the elections went well and are judged transparent by most of the observers. President Buhari congratulated Namadi Sambo and his team for a job well done, saying he was glad that they came back with good news. The ECOWAS head of mission had told the president that he met with all the stakeholders before the polls, which went into a runoff after the initial exercise in December last year was inconclusive. The team, he said, monitored the exercise in about 400 polling units across the 5 regions of the country, and the process was not only peaceful but also done professionally. The former Vice President of Nigeria said every citizen of Niger was given the right to vote and be voted for. He said the conduct of the exercise was a great improvement over the previous one and thanked President Muhammadu Buhari for his tremendous support to the ECOWAS mission. The candidate of the ruling party, Muhammad Bazoum, was announced winner by the electoral body, having won more than 50% of the votes cast, a decision disputed by the opposition candidate, Maman Usman, who approached the Constitutional Court for redress. The Nigerian Constitution gives the court the powers to decide who succeeds the outgoing president, Muhammadu Isufu.
On the last line now, the InterParty Advisory Council, IPAC, has restated its resolve to work with all stakeholders in the Nigerian project to ensure that the country remains unified and a home for all, regardless of tribe and religion.
A closed-door meeting, the InterParty Advisory Council says it has never wavered in the council's patriotic quest for a secured country for all. What members described as growth of colony of non-state actors masquerading under different names and labels unleashing mayhem on Nigerians must never be supported.
The government should not condone, discuss, or negotiate with bandits, terrorists, or other criminal elements. Government should forbid and also warn and prosecute individuals inflaming the polity with their speeches, whether it is hate or otherwise.
The council commends President Buhari for changing the service chiefs few weeks back and charges the new security chiefs to redouble efforts to crush terrorists in the country. On the political scene, the InterParty Advisory Council counsels political stakeholders to wholeheartedly work towards enthroning fairness, equity and justice in power structure.
All right, before we go, we'll take the final thoughts from our guest, Honorable Reverend Francis Waive is still here with us. We just through around the first quarter of the year. what are the low-hanging fruits in our economy? What should we be looking at, especially when you talk of agrarian areas, the riverine areas as well? What are the things we should be looking out for in terms of getting society back on an even keel?
We are grateful to God that the second wave of the COVID-19 seems to be going away now. And with that, economic activities should pick up. And we're also grateful to the National Assembly for the extension of the life of the budget of 2020 that goes on to the end of March. So all these will help to reboot everything and make sure that things go back on track. Meanwhile, the 2021 budget is being operated. So with all that going on side by side, things will definitely get better. And with our people putting in their best into productive activity, we already exited recession, which is a good signal for 2021. So the Nigerian is an entrepreneurial person, is not a lazy person. And with all the challenges of 2020, I see our people doing better, whether they are in the farms or they are artisans or they run their businesses. They want to recoup what they've lost in the past year. So I see the economy doing very well, and I see the economy, regaining everything that was lost in the past year. And good enough, government agricultural loan support scheme is going on. The support for small and medium scale enterprises is also going on, and people are benefiting across the country despite without any form of discrimination. Every region of this country, every tribe, every religion, people are benefiting. And as these monies go into the economy and production takes place, we definitely will be better off. I am very optimistic for the year 2021 that it will be one of our best years so far.
Society is a conveyor belt, of progress with a chain linking it. That's the contract between the leaders and the led. The led are saying that the leaders, especially political leaders, the rhetorics have not been good in the past years, which has perhaps even put Nigerians against themselves. Are you, the political class, talking to yourselves in terms of rhetorics, in terms of heating up the polity, in terms of spreading hate?
Well, we have no other country. This is our country, and God made us Nigerians. It's not our making. It's God that made us Nigerians. We have no option but to live together in peace. Those who have not experienced war will talk about it. Those who have seen it, experienced it, will know that there's nothing better than peace. And it doesn't mean that everything happening is equitable or justifiable, but we can continue to talk to one another. And this dialogue must continue, and things will have to get better. I'm from a minority tribe, and I know that for us minorities, Nigeria is better for us, and we know that we want this country to remain one, but it must remain one in the terms of true federalism, physical federalism, and we can talk about it, and we can get there. And I believe there are many in the political class and the leadership who are talking. And if you notice, things are changing. Those who had a hard stance about things like state police, they are beginning to calm down. And those who had a hard stance about violence and how to respond to that, they are beginning to calm down, and we are beginning to navigate the way forward. I think it's a phase in our national development, and we are going to get there.
We've had Honorable Reverend Francis Waeve, both spiritual and political update today. Thank you very much for being a part of the program. And for you for also tuning in on the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's largest and finest, where we give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. My name is Fisai Ogunfuyi. Thanking you for staying tuned. All the best. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye now.